I'm Jay Marks with the Oklahoman and NewsOK.com, and I'm here with Scott and Vicki Behenna, the parents of First Lieutenant Michael Behenna, an Army soldier recently convicted of killing a detainee in Iraq, and then he was denied his bid for a mistrial in the case. What was the issue there?
The issue for the mistrial was based upon the fact that the government, the prosecutors, had evidence that their expert agreed with Michael's version or testimony, and that is that the Iraqi, who was a known al-Qaeda cell member, was standing and reaching for Michael's gun at the time the shooting occurred. That evidence, that expert evidence, was not provided to defense counsel until after the verdict came in. And so the motion for a mistrial was based upon the fact that the government, it's called a Brady violation, that government prosecutors and state prosecutors are required to provide exculpatory or favorable information to defense counsel so they can use it in the defendant's defense, obviously.
Yeah. You're a prosecutor yourself. How did you become aware of this during the trial?
My husband and I,
as a spectator?
My husband and I learned about it that Saturday morning. The conviction came in late Friday night. Saturday morning, we were heard it as the rest of the people in the courtroom were hearing it, and that is that, and the only way, of course, the defense counsel ever found out is that the expert, this Dr. McDonald, sent an email to the prosecutor saying, I think I have exculpatory evidence that you should give the defense. So we were hearing that story as Mr. Zimmerman was telling the court about it, and I can tell you it made both of us sick to our stomach.
That's got to be quite a revelation. What happened from there?
When we heard about it from Jack, obviously presenting to the court that he wanted he was requesting a mistrial, they decided to have some kind of hearing where the doctor, of course, was back in New York, and so they made arrangements to telephonically interview him for the courtroom. I mean, he was under oath and testified, and again, like Vicki said, it was quite compelling testimony that he had revealed to the prosecution team, as well as a few others on the with the prosecution, such as the pathologist, the government pathologist, that in fact he believed the only logical explanation of the shooting was that the Ali was standing, reaching out, and he demonstrated that, physically demonstrated, using a sergeant in the one of the paralegals in a room. This was in between witnesses just after the defense had put on their expert Tom Bevel, and they were getting ready to cross Tom Bevel. This expert did this demonstration where he showed, he could not make sense of the man sitting on a rock as proclaimed by the prosecution, but in fact he had to be standing, and the way the wound trajectories and the blood and everything matched up perfectly. He had no evidence of that because Michael didn't testify until Thursday. But Wednesday he made that revelation to them, and then Thursday, as he was listening to Michael testify, is when he said, that's exactly what I told you the day before, and that's when he was sent home.
Okay. And the judge denied the motion for mistrial last week. Did he give any explanation as to why he did that?
He says that he did not feel that Dr. McDonald's, that's the government's expert's, testimony would substantially change the outcome of the case. Now, Brady has various parts. One is that it would substantially change the verdict. It could substantially change the sentence, and or in the fairness of the proceedings, the court can grant a mistrial based upon that. And the judge just summarily said that he didn't think it would change the outcome of the proceedings.
However, at the end of that, he comes in and changes or recommends a change to the general to lessen his sentence, which
from 25 years to
less than 18.
Yeah,
okay,
not
less
more
than
than 18.
Okay. Now, what comes next?
It's my understanding that there is a clemency packet that will be put together for the general of the 101st Airborne, who is what's called the convening authority. I understand that Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Sampson, Michael's defense lawyers, are working on that right now. They'll get that packet together, and I don't know the time frame. I don't know if the general has 30 days to consider it or 60 days or however long, but he'll consider that and I guess make a decision.
Well, that just affects the length of the sentence at this point?
That's my understanding, yes.
Is there plans to appeal the conviction as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Based upon the Brady violation and the failure to disclose, and it's a little bit more than just not disclosing the expert's opinion that would have been helpful to defense. One of the things that the government continued to argue in their theory of prosecution, their theory of going forward with it, was the fact that Michael, so they believed, executed Ali Mansour while he was sitting on a rock. Michael, of course, his story and his testimony was that he was not sitting on the rock. I turned and looked away. When I looked back, he was standing and he was reaching for my gun, so I shot. So even knowing that their government expert, their own expert, didn't agree with them that Ali was sitting on the rock and it was an execution-style killing, their government continued to argue in closing argument that Michael's version, Michael's testimony was unbelievable and impossible, that he could not have been standing reaching for Michael's gun. So it's more than just the Brady violation that will be appealed. I assume prosecutorial misconduct, because if a prosecutor makes an improper closing argument, which is clearly what happened here, that's an issue on appeal as well.
Okay. What do you think should happen down the road? Do you think he'll be acquitted totally of any wrongdoing in this, or?
I can tell you all Michael wants is a fair trial. That's all he's asked for from the beginning. He told us from the beginning that if he can tell his story, this will be okay. And that's all we wanted to hear as parents, and that's what we were waiting to hear for weeks and months. And finally we hear it, and it's not accepted, and in a lot of cases hidden from even the jury for them to be here, which was very upsetting.
It was comforting, though, as parents, just to have not just the defense experts say that Michael's testimony was truthful, but it was very important as parents to hear the government's own experts say Michael was telling the truth, that that's the only way the shooting could have happened, as the man was standing and lunging. And in short answer to your question, for me, I just want my son back.
I think that's all that can be said. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
Thanks.